Yeah, so you guys probably read the title and it probably caught your attention. And this is going to be a rant video, an unscripted rant video, because I had a different video planned for today talking about my dislikes for Windows, the problems I have with it, and how Microsoft's treating it, and that kind of stuff. But this takes precedence for a couple reasons. So the original reason why I did the Windows video and had that all recorded was because I had to use Windows for a pretty extended period of time, about 2 weeks, as my main operating system for editing, uploading, recording, the whole 9 yards, because my MacBook Pro 2018 with the Touch Bar was out for service for the 4th time. I figured that I've already made 2 videos covering the 2018 Retina MacBook Pro and giving it a pretty good overall impression. But now that has entirely changed. So for a little bit of context, I bought this Retina MacBook Pro when it was brand new in 2018 after its refresh, because at the time I was using a 2015 Retina MacBook Pro with all the original ports, and I did a review of it. You can actually check that out over there. And in that video I talked about how I liked having the ports and I figured they were still fine, and I even did an entire video before that even talking about how I didn't think that the all USB-C Thunderbolt 3 design was a very good idea. And I kind of stuck to that right up until I saw how Thunderbolt 3 had evolved. So when they refreshed the Retina MacBook Pro with Thunderbolt and Touch Bar and all that, and they gave it the Core i9, the 32 gigabytes of RAM, and the terabyte of storage with the bigger battery, the whole 9 yards, I figured now would be as good of a time as ever to upgrade. I was still kind of hesitant about the USB Type-C Thunderbolt 3 thing, but that quickly became a non-issue because I was able to plug in an eGPU and gain back the ports that I did need, which I still have one of the 3 USB 3 ports plugged in. Like, I don't use regular USB anymore. There's still issues with the eGPU in terms of the way that my editing software handles it, but apart from that, it still works fine. But overall, I can plug in 2 cords, just 2. One to handle my audio equipment and my hard drives, and one to handle my external graphics card, charging, and all the other stuff. So that for me was a pretty big plus, and I figured this was a good MacBook because of all the benefits and features that I was going to gain by switching to Thunderbolt 3 and getting the more powerful hardware. Now, one of the other reasons why I upgraded to this MacBook Pro was because of the fact that I was transitioning from 1080p on my channel to 4K, and the 2015 MacBook Pro could do it, but it tended to take a video like this one generally about 45 minutes to an hour to export, even if the video was only about 8 to 10, maybe 15 minutes long. And if I did a 20-minute video, I'm talking an hour and a half to render. This 15-inch MacBook Pro with the i9, the graphics, and all that fun stuff through Final Cut eats projects like this up like it's nothing. So it's much better at that. So render times, temperatures, which everybody complained about, I never really found that to be an issue, but render times, temperatures, the plugs, all that stuff was not an issue. The things that were a problem for this MacBook actually started not too long after I purchased it, and I don't think that this was a major issue, but I feel like it contributed to what I've dealt with. So when I first bought this Mac, the left side speaker worked, but the right side didn't, and I'm Mac certified. I'm actually Apple hardware authorized. I can do services on the computers if I have the correct tools. I don't, and I'm not employed to do any Apple services, so I figured if Apple needs to service it, I'd rather them do it instead of me, because if something does go catastrophically wrong, I don't have the means of getting parts. I'm going to be out like a $3,100 computer. I'm not going to take that risk. So I took it in, and they took the board out. They replaced the top shell because the speaker was dead, and I get it back. No problem. First time service. Probably got damaged in shipping or was just defective. That happens, you know? But I continue to use it, and then a little while later, the space bar starts acting up. And I knew that this was the one where they added like a little membrane in the keyboard, so yeah, okay, maybe some dust got through, but they were supposed to have fixed the keyboard issue. They didn't. So the spacebar almost completely failed unless I mashed it as hard as I could, in which case I felt like I was breaking the computer. So there we go again, out for service. So a brand new top shell again gets put on this machine, and I get it back. Spacebar works great, everything's good. Cool, whatever, I'm with a new computer again, and I can do everything I normally do, it's not a problem. Then another 4 months or so pass, and the J key starts acting up. And when the J key starts acting up, I figured, it can't be the keyboard again. Like, please tell me it's not the keyboard again. It was the keyboard again. And out of curiosity, I figured I would look into what is actually required when it comes to replacing the top keyboard element of the computer. And I was shocked. So when you replace the top keyboard, you're replacing the entire top shell, which for most computers doesn't seem like a big issue. I've taken top shells off before. In fact, I got it right here. I've replaced the top shell on this computer. I did an entire video series, episode 1's right there, where I serviced this entire computer. This whole top shell's new, the bottom shell's new. The only original thing about this is the screen, which is a theme that will actually carry over pretty soon to my own MacBook that I use on a daily basis. That, by the way, is a 2008 MacBook. So in 2008, you could literally take everything out from the top shell except the keyboard and get a new top shell and replace it. The top shell of a 2018 Retina MacBook Pro with Touch Bar includes a glued-in battery, the trackpad, the touch bar, the Touch ID sensor, the speakers, and the keyboard. That is so much of the computer being replaced at this point. So I've now had basically 3 entire top shells, which means when I got my laptop back after the J key got fixed, I've got 0 cycles on the battery because, well, it's a brand new battery. The little scratch that I had put into the trackpad while using it was gone because it's a new trackpad. The little bit of burn-in that I don't know why I had, I've never seen burn-in happen on the touch bar, but it happened on the second board, which I actually had for less time than the first one, but whatever, the burn-in was gone. Cool, that's actually a benefit. Speakers were fine, they're speakers, whatever. And the keyboard works again, great. Here's the thing, at this point, there have been 3 instances of the very small, delicate logic board of this computer coming out and going back into a new case. So that means that cooling components and the controller boards and all these things have been removed from one element and put back. Same thing with the screen. All of these pieces have come apart and been set to the side and then placed back in something new. I've serviced a lot of computers, and I myself wouldn't even trust a logic board that small and delicate to be moved and removed and placed in different places that many times. I would be very cautious about that. And rightly so, because 4 days ago was when I got this Mac back from service for the 4th time because the left side ports would not charge. They would take plugs like USB and thumb drives, like anything like that would show up just fine, but you'd plug the charger in, it would give you the little devices fully charged icon at the top, but then wouldn't actually charge. So it would see the power supply data-wise, but wouldn't see it for power, and just would not charge no matter where I plugged it in. I even spent $80 to buy another power brick, and it wouldn't work. So then, after all of that, I send it in again because they were like, okay, that's definitely a problem, and it started after we did the service on it, so go ahead and send it back, we'll fix it. I get the service order back. Let me go get the service order. So I get the service order back, I just covered up all the addresses, but I get the service order back, and they replaced the logic board, which is a custom, this is a build-to-order board, which the closest place that had a board like this in stock was in Texas. So this thing has done more traveling this year than I have. So brand new board, which also includes getting a new Touch ID board, which means I had to reset the fingerprint reader and all that stuff, which also, because they solder storage down to the boards, I had to basically fully restore this thing because none of my data came back, which, thank God for Time Machine, I use that religiously, but yeah, I had to restore the whole machine. Plus 2 I/O boards, both of them, both left and right. Now, have you all ever heard of the ship of Theseus paradox? The paradox goes that there was a ship that was a major part of a battle, and so it was stored as a museum piece, but over time the wood began to rot. And as those pieces began to rot, they would replace them. And after a couple hundred years of being stored and fixed and repaired, it got to the point where the original ship was technically no longer there because all the parts that were original to it had rotted away and been replaced with newer parts. This computer has basically become the ship of Theseus. The only original part to this computer is its screen. It, a 2018, so 2 years old, it has had more service done to it and more parts replaced than my 2008 MacBook. This 2008 MacBook has had fewer parts replaced in it than this has. That's unacceptable. And I've been working with Macs for over 20 years. I have had 20 years worth of experience both from amateur use when I was 6 all the way up till now, and I have never had a Mac that has been this unreliable. The 2008 Mac I just pulled up still works perfectly. 1998 iBook. There were only a handful of these models in this color made. I have one, it still works. The only thing that needs servicing in it is the battery. Hard drive still works, board still works, keyboard, screen, you name it. All of it still works. It even has Wi-Fi. What I lovingly call my stack of Macs over here, the two iMacs from 1998 and an iMac from 2004, all still work. Over there, I got an iMac, another one, 2006, still works. I did a live stream, you can check it out over there, where I upgraded a 2009 iMac. Still works. It's actually functioning right now as a media server for my house. 2007, 17-inch MacBook Pro. These actually were known for having graphics failures. It still works perfectly fine, apart from the the battery still works. I'm sorry, I replaced that. So yeah, works perfectly fine. This is the only Mac, apart from this one, that I've had fail. And you know what failed in it? The solid state drive. But they can be serviced. This, you can take the solid state drive out of and get another one. So I can actually fix this. I'm just cheap and lazy and haven't yet. You want to know the real kick in the pants? I have a Mac that is older than I am. It's not even a Mac. I have an Apple computer that is older than I am, that works perfectly fine, always, all of it, completely functional, and has been that way for what I assume would be 36 years. Still in its original box too. The Apple IIc. I have only taken this apart to clean it. I actually, this sounds terrible on audio, I'm sure. I have only taken this thing apart to clean it. It still works. It's not even a Mac. It is an Apple computer. 1984, 36 years old. And I'm not even doing this to flex. I'm doing this because I know that Apple can be better. And it's not even a Steve Jobs was better, Tim Cook sucks thing, because that 2013 Retina MacBook Pro was made after Steve Jobs. And it is still extremely reliable. I had one solid state storage failure, which for me is an acceptable failure because those are parts that are used consistently, and there are thousands to millions of them made a day, so sure, maybe I got a bad batch, but it didn't die until almost 6 years of use. So yeah, this is a ranty video, and I'm sorry for that. I've made 2 videos at this point talking about how this computer isn't that bad. And I feel like those are gonna stay up, but I feel like those should be watched after this one, because while I praised features about this Mac in those videos, like Thunderbolt 3, like the display, like the trackpad, all those things still hold true. The trackpad is amazing. The screen is great. The color calibration is mind-blowing. You can tell it's hand-calibrated because it looks incredible. The Thunderbolt 3, super versatile. I love it. It's great. Even the thermals that everybody complained about have not been an issue for me. But the keyboard, something I said I didn't mind in one of my videos, is the worst thing Apple could have possibly done, and whoever designed that needs to be shot. And whoever thought that a little like rubber condom wrapped around the outside of the keys needs to also be shot. And the fact that after 4 services, they didn't just replace it because clearly something was wrong, and cost-wise, they have now, and I did the math, have spent more money than it would have cost to just scrap this one and send me a 16-inch. And I don't even care if it's a 16-inch. They could have sent me any Mac, just something that was more reliable than this. But they didn't. They just serviced it. Like, okay, one of the stores that I've frequented has a no lemons policy. The no lemons policy states that if you have had a computer in for 3 services, you get it replaced because clearly something is wrong and only a massive service is going to fix it, so it'd be more cost effective to just send you a brand new one. I'm at that point right now, and I'm not complaining that I got the computer back functional. I'm glad that it's functional, but I'm pissed that I've had to jump through so many hoops to get to that point. And the most damning thing, or the last thing I should say, that is really just the most frustrating part of this entire experience is the fact that even with all of this done, I'm still sitting here just waiting for the day that I go to type and a key stops working again, because you still have the same fatally flawed keyboard design that was the first major service that has ever had to be done on this computer. I don't consider the speaker failure a major issue, even though it required the same amount of service, solely because it could happen to anybody, and I didn't really hold them to that. I will hold them to the keyboard, though, and I still have the same keyboard, so maybe I'll update you guys later when this keyboard inevitably fails again, and I have to send it out for service again, so we'll see what happens. Either way, guys, that's been it. I can't recommend you buying this MacBook Pro used or anything. I would avoid it at all costs. Don't make the same mistake I did. Hell, I would recommend buying the 2008 MacBook or the 2013 or 2012 Retina MacBook over this one. Or just pony up and get a 16-inch. Those things are insanely reliable and much more well-built than something like this. But that's been it. That's been my rant. I'm just pissed because I never thought that I would have to be dealing with this many issues on a Mac, considering that I have almost 40 years worth of computers in my collection, and none of them have been as failure-prone and unreliable as this thing. All right, I'm done rambling. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment letting me know what you guys think. Did you make the same mistake I did? Are you frustrated that you didn't wait until they fixed the problems or weren't more cautious about getting one? Whatever your thoughts are, or whatever your complaints or compliments or whatever it may be, just let me know in the comments. And apart from that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully it'll be less ranty than this. Have a good one.